Hey everyone, this is Jace, bringing you this time the dungeon ranking version of my very hard Shinra building run. I'm running Matt as a healer, Glenn as a DPS, and Zack as a DPS slash debuffer. Zack is so good for this event, especially if you're someone like me who doesn't have super strong physical non-elemental weapons. These are the two best physical non-elemental weapons I have, Zack's Zweihander and Glenn's Apology in Hell, both free weapons that we got that I only have at level 80 and overboost 1. But anyway, starting off with Matt's gear, I have his killer attire because it's his only outfit that I have with HP, and also it looks so good. I mean, come on. Prime number in the main hand, of course. Slick Beetle in the offhand that's going to allow us to do some physical attack debuffing. Sub-weapons are Glenn's Hardcore Squad at OB5, and then a couple of free event weapons. The attack one from Sephiroth's event for Barrett, and then the Chocobo Staff for Aerith. In terms of materia, I had a Ruinra equipped, specifically a triangle one, a Waltera Blow, and then something else that was probably just for stats. There you can see Matt's stats, he saw his R abilities. For Glenn, I actually have his Steiner weapon, the free weapon from the crossover, equipped in the main hand because it gives him his best stats. Apology in Hell in the offhand, as I mentioned before. I have my Poison Azuna equipped on him. He also has an X Sigil Ruinra on him, and then a Debrave materia that's going to help us with the giant fights, the Astral Giant and the Iron Giant. I have his free armor equipped. His stats are available there on the left. In terms of sub-weapons, once I switch over to that, because I pre-record these and I just do a voiceover, I'm not doing this live. I have Sephiroth's event weapon at level 80. I have Mad Minute at Overboost 2 at level 80, which gives HP and physical attack potency, or physical ability potency, And then I have Matt's Killer Hornet at level 90, Overboost 4, that gives physical attack and physical ability potency. Here are the R abilities for Glenn. You can see physical ability potency at level 3 and physical attack at level 3, and then most of his damage is actually coming from the attack stat. And then for Zack, I have his Halloween costume and his Halloween weapon. Halloween costume gives HP and physical attack. The weapon gives some physical attacks and water potency. And then I have his Zweihander in his offhand, like I mentioned before. I have an X Ruinra Blow, mostly for stats, but it also helps out here. And then a Triangle Ruinra Blow, because he's a Triangle Sigil Breaker with that weapon. And then, of course, a Waltera Blow. Sub-weapons are Lucia's Bald Eagle, the Crew Kicker weapon, that's Glenn's weapon. That's just there for HP. And then Red 13's free event weapon from the Iron Giant event. Just gives attack and some crit potency, which comes in handy here. Zack's R abilities are here. His physical attack is maxed out, and there are the rest of his stats there. Alright, that's the team that I'm using for this run. I will see you in the rest of the video. Okay, for my run, I found it best to tackle the dragon boss first instead of Rufus, because the dragon just has super annoying adds. It has a really annoying poison that I just kind of want to get over with, and we can also grab a score boost from him. I start off by doing this random encounter just to build up some limit gauge a little bit. Nothing really special about this, just kill the charging dudes first. I don't even know how much damage high voltage will deal, since the crisis level is so low, and therefore their combat power is going to be pretty low, but I've decided I don't need to find out. I just kill them before high voltage goes off. I don't waste any time doing the whole swap to defense dance thing to build extra limit gauge by spamming Ruinra Blow. Just kill them. It's fine. They give you plenty of limit gauge just killing them normally. So for the dragon boss, my approach to it is to kill the adds as quickly as possible while having the Poison Azuna ready to go to clear poison off of the whole team as soon as possible. So I'm targeting down the adds first, And I'm going to swap to Glenn. I'm going to hold some ATB on him because he has my Poison Azuna. You probably don't have to swap to defensive stance here. I think it's about 1,000 damage or something like that, maybe just a little bit more than 1,000 damage if you just leave the attack gauge going, because there's some kind of lag or bug that will prevent you from switching or performing any action after that attack goes off, but your attack gauge will continue to decrease. It's super frustrating. I don't know. But from here, I'm just going to be damaging the dragon as much as I possibly can, including with Matt, just spamming his Slick Beetle command, which is X-Shot. That's what's applying that physical attack down. So that's going to keep us, much safer, since the dragon's not going to be hitting us as hard, because the dragon actually hits pretty hard. That Dragon Stomp at the beginning, you might have seen that I swapped to defensive stance for it. Highly recommended. It hits surprisingly hard, even at low crisis level. For this part, this is why I brought the X Ruinra Sigil on Glenn, so he can handle the X part while everybody else handles triangle, and then Zack also has an X Sigil Ruinra, mostly for stats, but this is where it helps out quite a bit. I'm going to use only 2 limit breaks here. I'm going to be saving the 3rd limit break for the Rufus fight, and you'll see how I end up using that. But this is plenty to get the dragon as close to dead as necessary. I decided to heal up there, which I don't think was the best decision, and you'll see why when I bring up the scorecard. Normally, I'm able to kill this in less than 1 minute and 30 seconds, which, for those who don't know, nets you a little bit of extra score, but I ended up with only 61,000 because I went over by just 1 second. So I figure if I hadn't done that heal, then I could have maybe shaved off 2 seconds because I had to swap to defensive stance. I wasted some ATB on Matt. But anyway, we're going to take the score boost. An alternative there would be to just do the dragon first and then do the random encounter afterward to heal up, because I wanted to heal up for this Rufus fight. We're going to start off with a limit break on Darkstar. I waited so that I could use Zack's Swirl Drop here. This was not a good idea. It's better to just go ahead and use that Swirl Drop on Rufus so you can swap to him and get the damage going. Glenn's limit break didn't really need it, and if the limit break didn't kill Darkstar, then I could have used some kind of 3 ATB ability to just finish him off. The reason we want to kill Darkstar quickly is to reduce the amount of damage that this deals. It deals very, very tiny damage if Darkstar is dead. It deals respectable damage if Darkstar is alive. So this is just a way of making sure we don't have to spend as much time healing during this fight. We can have Matt doing more damage with his X-Shot ability. At Crisis Level 2, Rufus honestly doesn't deal all that much damage. This reload here can be dealt with pretty easily with 3 characters on the team. I wonder if they still have that tuned for it being just Cloud so that you have to time things out, from the story, but with 3 team members, you can even just time 3 regular abilities for that. You don't have to use the Ruinra Blow. Now, unfortunately, he hit Zack with Fatigue, and that's going to make it a little bit more difficult to reapply the physical defense down that allows the whole team to deal more damage. For this phase, a lot of people are going to recommend bringing only magic Ruinra because Rufus will counter physical damage abilities. The counter deals like negligible damage, so it's completely up to you. It might be worthwhile. Maybe taking less damage is going to save you some score, but even at the 2nd crisis level, it's such little damage. I personally, I honestly forgot to switch to a different type of Ruinra on Zack, and I just didn't care. I've done several runs of this, and the counter does nothing, so I just leave it. This ends up being a pretty tight fight because, again, we want to get it under 1 minute and 30 seconds. We are able to by a very, very thin margin, but as you can see, we're completely ignoring this this stream phase. We're not trying to hit triangle at all. I'm just trying to get my team to do as much damage as possible. we're able to make it out with a pretty good score. Again, just barely under that minute 30 mark. Nets us a couple thousand extra points. For this trance ability, you might recall I took the score boost when I beat the dragon. For this one, I'm going to take the physical attack. Since we are relying on water damage, or we're going to be relying on water damage for the Scorpion and the Iron Giant, I opt to take the score boost from the dragon instead of from Rufus, because if I take the physical attack boost from the dragon, we lose 50% water potency, which is bad for the strategy that I'm currently using. After a little bit of trial and error, I decided that using a power jelly on Zack was worth it. We're going to lose a tiny bit of score from having used an item, but I think we're going to gain a lot more score because we were able to kill the Armored Scorpion much, much faster because it's weak to water. Zack can lower the physical defense and the water resistance that the boss has, and Zack's weapon has a 30% boost to water materia, so he's just going to be absolutely blasting during this. These Wutai fighters, they heal the boss and they heal themselves, so I kill them as soon as possible. Really, in all these fights, I kill the ads as soon as possible. They're a nightmare to deal with. For this boss, if you can swap to defensive stance every once in a while just to keep your party alive, it's a good idea. You can see that I almost let Zack die there because I'm really, really trying to push the limits. I'm not intending to do any big damage until after this stream phase, because once we've interrupted this, the boss will have all of its defense down applied as soon as I use Swirl Drop on Zack. The water resistance will be down, and then we can just blast with all three of our team members. My goal for this part of the fight is to kill him before he can use his AoE laser attack. It hits decently hard, at least for my team. It chunks them for about 50% of their HP, and that's a lot of score loss because you lose score by taking more damage. So it's a win-win if we can kill him very quickly and kill him before that laser goes off. We'll get points from killing the boss faster and points from not taking as much damage from that laser. So for the rest of the fight, I'm just going to be jumping from character to character, trying to make sure they're using their most damaging abilities. And that's a dead Scorpion. We ended up being able to kill him quickly enough to get some score bonus. So we killed him in less than a minute 30, and we were able to avoid the laser, so another boss score over 60k. And for this trance ability, we're going to be taking the physical damage boost again. I think that's what I did? Oh, I stopped and thought here. Okay. I decided to just record something and get it onto the channel because I didn't want the whole event to go by without me putting something up, but I've done a lot of toying around with what I'm going to do for this run, and it's possible that by the time this is on YouTube, I might have picked a different strategy, but this one worked really, really well and got me a decent ranking, so I wanted to show it to everybody at least who was willing to watch. Going into the Iron Giant fight, I put another power jelly, or whatever it's called, the physical attack up on Zack, because he's again going to be the main DPS because the Iron Giant is weak to water. And so let us kill the Iron Giant a little bit faster, which will also allow us to take less damage. Wutai fighters again, I want these dead as soon as possible, but with Zack, I'm going to be swapping over to the Iron Giant, using his Swirl Drop, and then swapping back to the Wutai fighters. And I'm going to do something similar with Matt, swap over, use the Breach Materia, and then swap back to the Wutai fighter. That's because we want to topple the Iron Giant as quickly as possible, kill off the Wutai fighters, and then we want to start putting in the damage. So I'm going to use another Swirl Drop here on Zack, and then we're just gonna go in. This is the fourth boss that we're fighting, so this Grand Sword is going to deal a decent amount of damage, even though it's the Iron Giant, not the Astral Giant. We have Matt ready to throw out a heal right afterward, and we're just going to continue trying to do as much damage as possible. Zack's going to... I use Swirl Drop on him again, or at least allow it to go through, because I want that water resist down, because the main damage that we have coming in is going to be water damage from Zack. I use Breach here to get rid of the Diamond Sigil, yes, but also to try and lower that physical defense as much as possible. And I'd like to end this with Zack being able to apply exactly 2 levels. I don't want to waste any ATB from Zack having to use an extra Swirl Drop, because he put an additional level down before Matt could get that Breach out, so that's why I was trying to get that Breach out as quickly as possible. All 3 limit breaks are up, so we just go ahead and pop them, and then we're going to go back to dealing as much damage as possible as quickly as we can. After these limit breaks are over, I'm not going to bother healing up, because the boss is going to use Adrenaline. It's going to really buff his physical attack, and then he's going to charge up to use another ability on us. I believe it's another Grand Sword. So instead of worrying about that, we just take the opportunity to continue putting in damage, because this is the 4th boss, the last boss before we're going to fight the Astral Giant. The only other fight we're going to do beforehand is, I believe there's one more random encounter left, and most of the damage from that enemy is gravity based, meaning that it deals a % of your current HP. So we were able to get above 50,000, can't pull off the speed run, at least with my team, on the Iron Giant, not expecting to. But still, the Power Jelly on Zack does allow us to get a bit more damage in, which is nice. Allows us to finish the fight a little bit quicker. We're going to take the score boost, and then we're going to head on over to that random encounter. I forgot to open the door using the control panel there after I killed the dragon, so we're going to go back and do that, and then we're going to do that random encounter. Again, this enemy is not very scary at all. The only way that this enemy can kill you is if you have such low HP that its Screech ability kills you, and I think even at the maximum crisis level, which is what we're at right now, I think the Screech does like, I don't know, like 800 damage or something like that. The Dance of Despair and Dance of Terror abilities, they can't kill you. They look really scary because they're chunking your party, and they also reduce your max HP, so keep that in mind. I learned that the hard way during one of my runs. That's why we're waiting to use any supplements or elixirs or anything before going into the last boss, because this enemy is going to chunk us a little bit. That Aroga can also kill you, so you just want to make sure that you don't even have to be fully topped off, just make sure you have enough HP to survive that, and you're going to be just fine against this enemy. And where this enemy really gets scary is when there's 3 of them. Because after one of them uses Screech, all 3 of them will use a single target magic ability on the one that's stunned, so you really have to make sure that you're topped up. But then again, that's the only scary part of those random encounters, so hopefully that's useful information to people. Alright, we're going to be fighting the Astral Giant. Just the amount of score that you can get from fighting the Astral Giant it's so good. Even if it's not an optimal fight, I still think it's better than the Specimen, depending on your team, of course. We're going to be using all 3 elixirs. We're going to be using 3 Power Jellies, putting them on each party member to really boost their limit breaks and just their overall damage. We're also going to use Guard Jelly. I realized that this boss deals a lot of damage, and again, you lose score the more damage you take. At least for my team, it was actually a score improvement to use the Guard Jellies. It allows us to not have to heal as much, or sometimes even at all, with Matt. It allows us to kill the boss faster, so overall, it's worth it. At the beginning here, I just wanted to use an ability on each character so that they're not wasting their full ATB. For Glenn, I make sure he used Twin Hell. For Matt, I make sure he uses X-Shot to get the physical attack down debuff rolling. That also makes it so that Glenn isn't going to use his D-Brave, because he will totally use the D-Brave if if at least one tier of physical attack down isn't applied. And then, of course, we want to make sure Zack uses Swirl Drop so that the defense down is there. Boss is already down to half HP, so we're starting off very, very strong here. We're still just going to continue to pump damage. We're not going to be too afraid of the Helm Splitter here. Swap to defensive stance, of course. It's a pretty big hit. You want to mitigate that damage. But it's possible that I don't even heal up after this. Glenn uses that Azuna, which is a little bit suboptimal. Spoiler alert, future runs, I optimize my character's materia a little bit more so Glenn isn't wasting ATB like that. We're going to use X-Shot and the D-Brave that Glenn has to reduce the amount of damage that the boss is able to deal with this Grand Sword attack. If you reduce it enough, it makes it so that you don't have to heal for the rest of the fight, which is what we are trying to do. And yeah, we're going to put the physical defense down on the boss again. I wish I had jumped over to Matt fast enough so that he wouldn't have used Breach, but it is what it is. And we're just going to kill him. We're just going to keep on putting physical non-elemental damage into him until he's dead. We're going to get limit breaks back up at some point. If one comes up in time, we're going to use it. May as well. But there's a good chance he dies. Yep, he died before it. I've done so many runs, it's hard for me to remember everything. And I'm not re-recording this. I do this in pretty much one take. So, it is what it is. But that's the fight. We killed him pretty quickly. Almost 120k score. And we were able to kill him well within a minute and 30. So, that's the run. We will see the final score in just a little bit. Now, this was the first run where I was able to break 1.4. I believe up to this point my best score was 1.31 or something like that. So this was a score improvement. Even after posting this video, I'm probably going to try and do a little bit more to improve the scores a little bit. Just because I love dungeon ranking events, they're so much fun. I'm going to go through the score for each boss that I fought, just in case you were curious. I know that I showed them during the run, but just to be safe, I wanted to go through and take a look. I do a little bit of bouncing around here because I wanted to take a look at how much damage I took on each boss, try to decide, okay, do I want to use a guard jelly on the Iron Giant as well to maybe improve that score? But maybe that's something I'll do. Maybe it's something you can consider for your runs if you'd like to. But anyway, here's the run that I did. And also here are the scores for my normal and hard mode runs. And here's the overall score that I have. So right now with this run, I'm at rank 66, 2.1 million score. Feeling pretty good. I probably won't have to improve it before the ranking event is over to make top 100, but you know, we'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, feel free to subscribe and like the video, and I will catch you next time. See ya!